Hello all you wonderful followers of my game, and welcome to the second update video that there is. I want to talk about some stuff I didn't actually cover last time, as well as a couple of things I have added since then. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The first change, ignore the cutoff UI, I'm still working on the scaling for that. The first change is actually going to be here in the game mode selection, so I really do need to label these. But this top one right here. So last time there was only Firefight and Subway Survival, and now there's a new Chaos mode, and I'll explain that a little bit. Take note of the timer selection though, that's going to be kind of important to the game. I'm just going to set it for 20 seconds, I'll just leave it at that. And then I will touch on the other changes later on here. So you'll notice up here at the top of the screen, there is a seconds till death counter, so a little death timer essentially. And what that is the chaos timer. So the player will only have as long as that timer allows them to live. And the thinking behind that is that the player can't become too powerful, camp next to an ammo respawn, and then stick with the same gun for the entirety of the game. The idea is that they will have to basically go and hunt their gun down again, or fight somebody else, take their gun, what have you, whatever it is. But that's the thought behind that, so they can't become too powerful. That's a rather important piece of the game mode. It does work across the network, and it's really designed to drive some really fast and intense gameplay because, like I said, now everybody's neutralized. You can die before the timer is up, and essentially you'll just be offset from other people. And I just walked off the edge, you can ignore that. But that's essentially that game mode. So here we are back at the main menu once again, and I will show you the other difference which you may have spotted actually. I'll just stick in firefight mode here. I actually have made a level select that also works across the network, which is definitely a good thing for a multiplayer game, you know. It required minimal code actually, surprisingly, because you have to deal with a network server that actually doesn't exist yet. So you have to account for the fact that a network server will be there, but you can't use the if is server function. You can't use that check. That's the problem until the game is already up. So synchronizing is basically done through a sync var, and the sync var will sit in a script that's attached to the network manager object, but it doesn't ever do any checks for if the person is the server. It basically just passes the information along, and only the server gets this little drop down for the level select. So only the server is able to change that. Now if a client were able to get this drop down somehow, they could override what the server puts, whoever enters it last. But my way around that was just to only allow the server or the host to access this. So with that nerdy stuff out of the way, I will actually show you the other two maps that I did not show you guys last time. So the first one being test scene. I'll just jump right into it. I should point out this is my second time recording because the audio the first time got very messed up and did not sound great. So in pursuit of quality, I've done this again. So this is a rather large outdoor map. This is really just designed for testing and to make the game feel slightly more like a game, and to see how mechanics feel when actually playing multiplayer. I need to set up the menu to support online, because right now all I've gotten around to doing is local multiplayer, which isn't necessarily bad, but I do want to set that up for online. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about the new ECS networking system, if I'm just going to keep this down the UNet path and then migrate to ECS later, or if there's another option, I might just switch to Photon Unity networking, but that would require porting my code back to the old networking system. So it's really a big mess right now. But at least it's functional, and at least that'll work for the next 3 years. But my intention is obviously to support the game for as long as I can once I do release it. So anyway, more nerdy stuff out of the way. But this map is basically just to test mechanics, to see how things feel, and to kind of experiment with map design. So these little gray things are unmodeled boost pads. They're just using the standard plain 3D models, which is funny because planes are 2D, but oh well. And they just launch you across the map in whatever direction they're sloped towards. So basically whatever end is higher is the direction you're going to be going. And they're used to do all sorts of getting around. This main wooden island is really going to be the center of the fighting. So I'm going to have some big weapons over here in the middle. So I might have, a rocket launcher over here, and then something else like a beam cannon or something over somewhere else in this little section, and then people are going to be fighting over it. And the idea of this is, again, the chaotic fast gameplay that's really the intention there. It'll drive everybody to the middle to be fighting over those weapons, and everybody being in one place means lots of action is going to be happening. Another mechanic that I plan to test later on in the development of this game is destructible environments. So not so much with the terrain, but for vehicles anyway, I plan to add destructible vehicles and destructible walls as well for buildings. So this is to discourage camping. You'll obviously have some kind of indication that somebody's attacking the walls, so you'll have time to run out and do something. It's not just going to be instantly you're dead. But I really feel like if we can prevent people from camping, it will draw out more action-packed gameplay and really keep people engaged instead of hiding away in a building. And somebody could just stroll along, toss a grenade towards a wall, and do it because they want to, and then happen to find somebody camping. So really that constant awareness, that fear, is what this game is all about, keeping people on their toes to react to really anything. And speaking of vehicles, I'm going to make my way over to the vehicle that I started work on, and then after enough bugs I decided I would go work on other game mechanics. Vehicles are definitely a very large planned thing, both in air and on the ground, and maybe even water-based vehicles for certain maps. Turrets as well, although those are going to be stationary and not moving vehicles, but they'll still count as vehicles to the code. But I digress. So I'll make my way over here. This is supposed to be a hovercraft, and it does kind of work. I say kind of, because I think it has to do with the way the player is set up using a rigid body first-person controller. But essentially, when you get on it, there we go, you can't move it. Now, playing around with the torque settings and everything, you're able to rotate it if you set it high enough, but the issue with that is that the player is weighing this down, so you can't actually get the craft off the ground, nor can you reliably turn it or make it move in any direction that you want it to. It might move in some random direction, but that isn't super helpful. With that being said, though, I am going to be working on vehicles a lot more once I get some other glitches out of the way. So anyway, now let's move on to the final map, which is where the zombies mode got its inspiration from. So here we are one more time for the video. I'm going to jump into Subway Survival mode. I'll just set this to noob to keep the performance kind of up. So I actually took a trip to Canada a little bit ago, about a month and a half ago, and as I was sitting in the metro system, I thought, wouldn't it be fun if we were trapped down here and for a game, of course, and had to fight our way to survival, essentially, by taking metro cars to different stations. And, you know, I thought that would be pretty fun. I just have to point out the glitch shotgun down here. But I was thinking that would be a really fun game mode. So I went back, I had my laptop with me, and I worked on it a little bit once we got back to the hotel. And it actually turned out kind of working. I've since removed some of the subway cars, well, all of the functional subway cars, and I've really slimmed down the map because at this point I'm just trying to work on performance a little bit. But the idea here is that you'll survive down here with a bunch of friends, and the only way to get across and to all meet at one subway station is to take the metro cars or the subway cars. But the issue here is that all of the subway cars are also going to be infested with zombies. Weapons are going to be very few and far between, and then the resources, so medical stuff, overshields, things of that nature, are going to also be very hard to come by. And the goal is to survive as long as you can, almost like a wave-based zombies mode, similar to Call of Duty, but with a little bit of fort building as well. So nothing quite like Fortnite, but that same kind of idea, like an unturned Fortnite style base building system. And essentially you would just survive with your friends as long as possible in the subway system. So you have to kind of go around, find resources, and you wouldn't be able to just sit at the same exact place the entire game, because it really wouldn't benefit you much. You'll also notice through all the errors that have flooded the bottom left corner, the shield actually starts out at 0 in this mode, so 3 hits and you're down kind of idea, unless you were able to find a shield, which I plan to be very rare, or you can get heals, which teammates will be able to do without any items of any sort. It'll take quite a while though, so you'll have to do it in a safe zone. But that was kind of the idea behind that, and I plan for every map to work with the zombies mode and the other multiplayer PvP modes, but this one in particular is going to be really well suited for zombies. So after all that, if you're still here, thank you for watching very much. I appreciate it. I really do aim to release this game and to get it out there. I appreciate your support and your opinions. If you have any opinions, any thoughts you want to share with me, go ahead and leave them down in the comments. I would very much appreciate that, so I know what people are going to be looking for in a game, what kind of elements that they see that they do or don't like. I can definitely make adjustments based on that, because I want this to be a community-focused game. So anyway, with that all out of the way, appreciate it. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to stay updated on this game's development process, and I hope to see you in the next video.